The Bride of Frankenstein.
No, just the bride.
Frankenstein's Lightning Street Bride has been an abiding image on screen ever since James Whale, the director of the original 1931 Frankenstein film, committed her to celluloid in his campy 1935 sequel, Bride of Frankenstein. Whale's follow-up latched onto a subplot of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, or the modern Prometheus, involving the creature's demand for a female companion, and it became not just a commercial hit, but an enduring commentary on gender and sexuality. 90 years later, Maggie Gyllenhaal's The Bride brings her back to life, through a contemporary feminist lens, paying homage to both the Depression-era classic and Shelley's 1818 novel. Yet, as much as the actor-turned-filmmaker reassembles this gothic horror story with themes of consent, gender violence and female agency, her movie manifesto is garishly stitched together.
What happened?
You had an accident.
An accident, huh?
We dug you up. Then we brought you back to life.
As with Bride of Frankenstein, the film uses Mary Shelley as a framing device and casts Buckley in the dual role of the British author and the eponymous monster, just as actress Elsa Lanchester did before her. But where the bride arrives towards the end of that film, here she takes centre stage, and Buckley proves a formidable force. In shadowy black and white close-ups, she first appears as Mary, looming over proceedings like a devilish, rage-filled spectre seeking to course-correct the paucity of a stifled mind by continuing her creation story through a female subject. It's pretty bold of Gyllenhaal to have a fictionalised Shelley ridicule her own work in her own mind, but I guess she wouldn't be the first filmmaker to play fast and loose with the legacy of a British female author.
What's my name? I can't remember.
The film's Mary takes brutal possession of Ida, an American woman living a hedonistic life, drinking and cavorting with gangsters in a Chicago speakeasy of 1936. Buckley lurches schizophrenically between the competing female minds, raving in Mary's clipped English vernacular.
The corrupt are going to see life is here and it's coming to you from the monsters.
And throwing drunken accusations at a mob boss called Lupino, played by Zlatko Buric, which leads to her inevitable downfall. In comes Christian Bale's Frank, the 100-year-old Frankenstein's monster of legend, in search of female companionship to combat his loneliness.
I am a monster.
He meets Dr. Euphronius, played by Annette Bening, a scientist based on Bride of Frankenstein's Dr. Pretorius, whose gender swap from antagonistic father of creation to quirky mother of creation is barely drawn out beyond the blunt humour in her questioning of Frank and his carnal intentions for his mate. Still, she's mad enough to accept his commission, and once Ida is reanimated, the plot becomes an erratic mashup of Bonnie and Clyde, Joker, Folie à Deux, and Poor Things. The bride and Frank have an oddball dynamic. She's the black cat to his golden retriever, which offers some comedic charm. Suffering from amnesia, she's skeptical of his claim to her, knocks glass receptacles from tables when she doesn't get her way, and gets frisky at a deprivation disco. All the while, he gazes on adoringly, ready to smash some skulls if any gents get over-familiar, which they do. Attempted rape as a plot device feels pretty hackneyed at this point, but given the overarching themes, it's unsurprising, albeit tedious. It's the violent catalyst for the two monsters to go on the run, murdering, sometimes accidentally, their way from the Midwest to the East Coast and back as a litany of subplots and side characters overwhelm the story. The bride's past relationship with Cricket detective Jake Wiles, played by Peter Sarsgaard, is lazily shoehorned in through late-stage exposition, while his more capable secretary and wannabe detective Myrna Mallow, played by Penelope Cruz, becomes a woman versus the patriarchal workforce trope. As the bride starts to remember snippets from her life, her incoherent ramblings suddenly make her the unwitting poster child for female liberation. Cue spinning newspaper headlines saying, "Girls riot," and ladies rocking ink-splotted lips and wild hair as they start pelvic thrusting on car bonnets. It's a somewhat juvenile distraction from the emotional core of this story, about a woman defining her identity on her own terms.
I didn't want this.
I didn't want any of this.
Frank's almost homoerotic affection for his favourite movie star, Ronnie Reed, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, fuels the monster's misguided and romanticised ideals, but the script falls short of delving any deeper into the queer themes laced into the very Frankenstein films the bride takes major inspiration from. Gyllenhaal clearly has an affection for that cinematic age, and uses her modern lens to explicitly show scenes of sex, desire, violence and gore that would have never made it past the Hays Code censors back in the day. She also heightens the monstrous romance with a few manic dance sequences and hallucinatory movie scenes set against Karen Murphy's captivating steampunk, Depression-era set, with Sandy Powell's rebellious costuming marrying punk rock with classic 30s styling. It's a gritty yet grandiose world, with impressively monstrous hair and makeup design, but the choreography and cinematography don't quite capture the swing-time magic the film references, and coupled with the score, things hit more of an awkward rock opera note than truly raging against the patriarchal machine. The Bride is guilty of overindulging in feminist buzzwords and girl power imagery. It even has Buckley's bride jarringly screaming, "Me too, me too," in the final act, but it struggles to live up to the radical display of female autonomy it promises, and therein lies the real tragedy.
Don't hurt me, please. I'm sorry.
What are you sorry for?
Maggie Gyllenhaal's The Bride gets a 5. It's an erratic take on Mary Shelley's classic, fueled by a feminist rage that doesn't quite light up the screen, as well as Sandy Powell and Karen Murphy's Depression-era costumes and production design. Jessie Buckley and Christian Bale offer full-throttle performances, but as a whole, this gothic horror romance too often veers into the ridiculous and the obvious.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching IGN's review of The Bride. Joining me for more Frankensteining, the mad scientist behind that review, Hanna Flint. Hanna, how's it going?
It's good. I feel like I'm your official reviewer for British female author adaptations.
I mean, you're 2 for 2. To start with, how interested were you in this movie because it's been developed over the last couple of years? How long has this one been on your radar?
Yeah, it's been a while. I remember writing a piece maybe the start of 2024, because I think it was meant to be scheduled to come out in 2025. So I was very excited about it. I love Maggie Gyllenhaal. I love her as an actor. I love her as a director. I thought The Lost Daughter was fantastic. It has one of my favorite cinema scenes. Olivia Colman really going to town when people are talking at the cinema. So as a critic, I really felt seen. But I like the fact this seems a complete shift in gear for her. The Lost Daughter is a psychological sort of thriller drama situation, whereas this seemed to be, a very musical, bright, campy version of not just a subplot in Mary Shelley's original novel, but also a real nod to the 1935 film Bride of Frankenstein.
So, I mean, like we talked about, Frankenstein is a little different. It's, The Bride was, as you say, just a subplot in the Mary Shelley novel. But the fact that it is a continuing franchise is very telling. But how do you feel about The Bride as a sort of shepherd of that original Mary Shelley work versus it being kind of a continuation of IP in sort of a more Hollywood sense?
Yeah, I mean, this definitely feels more of an adaptation of the film. It's set in 1936, so it's Depression era. There is so much about cinema within the kind of world. We have moments of hallucinatory moments where they kind of go into the cinema, they recreate scenes, they see themselves within the movies, which kind of heightens the sort of romanticized ideals that Frank has about this romance with the bride. And it also has the framing device, which, in the Bride of Frankenstein, we have it open with Mary Shelley, Lord Byron, and Percy Shelley all discussing, and she's saying in a very more angelic way, there was more to go, and this is where the story would have gone.
It is wild to see how they treated sequels in 1935. Sequels are a brand new thing right now, and so it's I actually thought about it in a whole other story. You want to hear that?
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite scenes ever, honestly. It's such a weird little time capsule.
It is great, but I kind of, go for it. But I guess in that version, Elsa Lanchester plays both Mary Shelley and the bride at the end. But with that film, the bride only comes in at the end. It's very much a story about Frankenstein, Pretorius, Henry, or Frankenstein, the Dr. Frankenstein, Elizabeth, his wife. Whereas in this one, it's very much about the bride. And I think that's a really great thing that Maggie decided to do. It's the titular role, right? She should be an event. And I really understood what she was trying to do. Is how do you take a text from so long ago, how do you make it relevant again, or make it kind of in keeping, adapted for the times that we're in? And certainly it seems that Maggie was very much interested in themes of consent. In many ways, it felt like a film that might have been better coming out maybe 10 years ago, because a lot of the sort of feminism within it feels very much situated in a post-Me Too world. I mean, there is a moment where Buckley's bride does shout very knowingly. I think everyone knew. I think maybe Maggie wrote that, she knew what she was doing, but shouts, "Me too, me too." But I think my issue with it is that it becomes a little bit of, pop feminism. I also kind of, when you have Buckley, who also plays both the bride and Mary Shelley, this version of Mary Shelley is very devilish, very different from Elsa's iteration. She seems sort of spectre. She seems to be this kind of stuck in this in-between world, and she decides that she wants to find a crack in the veil or something like that to be able to possess a woman so that she can, you know, finally redo her story. And the quote is in the film is from the paucity of a simple mind. And I do feel like it's very bold of Maggie to suggest that Mary Shelley is just happy to say, oh, my work wasn't good enough, actually. It wasn't very good. Yeah. It wasn't good enough. I think that's part of it should, and this is what it should have been. And I just feel like that's, you know, putting words in a Ted Morpher's mouth. I don't know how feminist that is, but I guess it suits the sort of rage that she wants to permeate throughout the film, because, you know, being a woman, yeah, it is rage-inducing. I think that's something that's come up a lot. Yeah. You know, I feel like from Promising Young Woman, even She-Hulk, you know, that's a kind of trope and a kind of theme that's come up a lot. It seemed a bit too obvious. It felt a bit too well-trodden in that sort of department.
What's my name? I can't remember.
There's something that, and you mentioned earlier about, you know, Maggie Gyllenhaal's work as a director and as an actor. And I find when people who have made names for themselves as actors direct, it's one of two things. They start directing like a real actor piece, you know, like I feel like that's like, even going back to like, that's what Robert Redford did, or, you know, that's what, or it's something that's like a real filmmaker with a capital F type of swing. And this really feels like it falls into that camp.
I can see the work. Do you know what I mean? I could see the effort. Yep. I could see she was trying to pay homage to all these different things and try and deliver this thing that she expected. Do you know what I mean? In her mind, what is a film? But I think the way these different elements came together, it felt almost bloated. There were too many subplots. I mean, look, we've got this story where a woman, she gets killed. She's been possessed by Mary Shelley. Okay, let's go with it. So, and then she's got,
I mean, listen, when you say it like that, like, yeah, let's just, I'm here for a swing. Like, take a big swing, please.
Jessie Buckley, the way she maneuvers her body, kind of lurches around the place and kind of switches between axes to show this kind of fragmented mind where she's struggling to work out who she is, what her identity is. But then because you suddenly kind of get this Bonnie and Clyde moment where violent act happens and suddenly they're on the run. So it becomes Bonnie and Clyde, but then you've got the musical numbers, and then it feels a bit like Joker for Leah Durr, which is, you know, I was a fan of neither one of those films. And then, you know, the kind of the whole idea of female autonomy, we've seen that in Poor Things. It could have just been streamlined. I think that's what it is. It was trying to do too much at once, when actually it could have just been a really simple story. Like, get rid of all the other elements and just make it about these two people who are striving to find themselves accepted in a world that thinks they're monsters.
Monstrous.
Well, Hannah, thank you again for the review of The Bride. It's fun talking movies with you. Once again, looking forward to the next one again. But for more movie reviews, more on The Bride, more classic monster sci-fi, be sure to subscribe to IGN wherever you like to watch. We'll see you next time.